Thank you, Ms. Cox. If you would like to go ahead and begin with your presentation, that's fine.
Sure.
Because he did bring it back into session, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he did. Okay.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Mary Ann Cox. I'm the Interim Chief Financial Officer for City Schools. I'm here to present the financial results for FY20 Quarter 1 for the general fund. That's revenues and expenditures. City Schools does not do a projection for the 3 months ending September because schools have only been in operation for 1 month. So it's not enough real information to allow us to do a reasonable projection. So we do plan to do one for year-to-date December and year-to-date March. So this particular presentation just will provide the financial results for the general fund. So again, this presentation is for compliance with the Council Bill 170004R. Oops, sorry. Okay, so this particular schedule provides the revenue for city schools. The first column is the budget, the second column is the actual, and then the balance. City schools receives approximately 73% of our revenue from the state of Maryland. That's about $850 million a year. Most of this revenue is guaranteed. There are a few types of revenues here that are not guaranteed because it relates directly to services provided, such as non-public tuition assistance and some NPC stipends. But the rest of the money is guaranteed, and we receive it 1/6 every other month throughout the year. We receive approximately 23% of our revenue from the city of Baltimore. Again, this amount is guaranteed. We receive the money from the city of Baltimore twice a month over the 12-month period. The federal resources here include E-rate revenue, the IRS subsidy on one of our debt instruments, and the ROTC revenue that we get from the service academies. We also have interest and other revenue. The largest item in the other revenue is the MSA revenue that we get related to the reimbursements for the general fund expenditures related to the 21st Century Program. And this year, we included a $22 million balance from the general fund assigned fund balance within our budget. So you can see at the end of September, we have revenue of approximately $342 million with a balance for the rest of the year of $822 million. For our expenditures, we are required per COMAR to report our expenditures in accordance with the MSDE Finance Manual. So they give us specific categories that we must report the expenditures, and that's what this schedule is. They require it of all the LEAs in the state so that we can report our information to them. They consolidate it for the state and report it to the federal government. So you can see by looking at this that we have the largest number for our budgeted amount in instruction, which of course is the money at the schools. Special education is also at the schools, but it would be for those students, who qualify for the special education services. The other largest item is fringe, which is approximately 20% of our budget overall. That's benefits, that's medical, that's everything, pension, tuition reimbursement, everything. Okay, so you can see at the end of September, we have spent approximately $174 million of the $1.2 billion that we have in the budget, and encumbrances of about $123 million with a remaining balance of $905 million. The number
Ms. Cox, just
yes.
quick. So the appropriations doesn't have to match up with the estimated revenue?
The difference between the number noted in the budget column for revenue and expenditures is the carryover related to encumbrances.
Okay.
So for the next column is the one that is more easily understood by individuals looking at it. It's by object, so that's by type of expenditures. So salary and wages, fringe benefits, contractual services, and items like that. Approximately 71% of our budget is salary and fringe benefits. And we also have, utilities, which are a good size, and other charges is the line item where we include the $30 million contribution to the 21st Century Financing Fund for the, $10 million on behalf of the city and $20 million for city schools participation. So that is in utilities, that is in other charges, that $35 million. Of that $35 million, $30 million would be those payments to the financing fund. So at the end of September, we are at $174.3 million again for the expenditures by object, $122 million in encumbrances with a balance of approximately $905 million. So that's where we are right now at the end of September, just as the city had provided their information. Are there any questions?
Ms. Cox, I have a quick question. I don't expect for you to have this with you because you didn't know I was going to ask this, but is there a figure that shows the amount that we spend per pupil related to instructional supplies?
We could certainly calculate it for you.
I mean, I'd like to, if we can, I'd like to see how much we spend on instructional supplies per pupil, as well as textbooks that we per pupil.
Just for clarification, the instructional supplies are generally spent at the school level, so it's up to the individual school, so the number can vary by school.
Okay.
The same thing for the textbooks.
Does the system place any particular requirement on the individual schools as it relates to the amount that should be spent on?
Well, for textbooks.
Textbooks or yeah.
Yes,
please.
for textbooks, they are permitted to except for charter schools, which they have their own. They have the right to use other instructional programs. But within city schools, the schools must select from certain approved programs for curriculum. So at this point, there might be like 3 or 4 in each, like math, science, and so forth that they can select from. Last year, we had arranged for a curriculum, I believe, it was English language learning that we had done. And the bulk of that was not actual books. It's an online, participation. So the book costs were very low related to that, although there were some instructional supplies because they would have to buy them. The individual schools would buy them for their students' participation. But we can get you numbers however you like.
I'm just curious to see, and maybe it doesn't say anything, but I'm curious to see just how much, do we allocate, for the instruction, of our students once, in that schoolhouse, in the school building, and then kind of system-wide, what that looks like, just to see, to compare to other jurisdictions that same allotment per student.
Certainly, we can look at a number and see if it makes sense to dig down deeper. We can do that.
Thank you. I don't know if there's any other questions by any of my colleagues.
Okay.
Being no more further questions. Oh, she has more? Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I thought that was the last slide.
No, actually, the next slide is the names of everyone. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, she did. So being no further questions, thank you, Ms. Cox. I appreciate it. This committee is now in recess.
All right, thank you.
Yes.